Hello, and welcome to the Six Figure Developer Podcast, a podcast where we talk about new and exciting technologies, professional development, clean code, career advancement, and more. And more. I'm John Calloway.
I'm Clayton Hunt.
And I'm John Ash.
Did you get stuck on repeat?
No, I did. My voice cracked. It was weird.
With us today is Jeremy Sinclair. Jeremy is an enthusiastic developer with over 10 years of development experience. He's also part of the Windows Insiders community and a Windows Insider MVP. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hello. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. So before we kind of jump into sort of more of the meat of the podcast, would you kind of give our listeners maybe a little bit of an introduction to yourself? You could, tell them basically how you got started in the industry.
All right. So everyone, I'm Jeremy Sinclair. Right now, I'm an enterprise .NET developer out of Wheeling, West Virginia. I've been, playing around with computers since I was about 5 years old. So I'm talking back in the Windows 3.1 days.
Nice.
Yeah. And actually, my first experience with development was around 4th or 5th grade. I discovered JavaScript. Just going to a few websites and seeing dialog boxes and input boxes and seeing how I could interact with that. In the back of my mind, I just wanted to be able to recreate that for my own self. So a lot of my interaction with troubleshooting, breaking windows and reformatting. There's a lot of trial and error and a thirst to learn. Just watching so much stuff out there on the internet, all these cool websites. Like I want to create my own stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much how I became a developer. Mm-hmm. When where I'm at now, I actually started out as an intern for essentially sysadmin.
Okay.
So it was a really interesting transition. But I got to learn a lot. I got to learn a lot about scripting. Mm-hmm. So I learned PowerShell first as my introduction to .NET. I love PowerShell. I know many people get hung up on it because it's there's some things that are a little complicated that shouldn't be. Yeah. But I think overall I've gotten the hang of it, and when I learned C#, that's like PowerShell helped out with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up on normal old command line, so with a like a simple batch script, and I did do a little bit of Windows script host. But when PowerShell came out, I was like, I don't understand anything. Why won't my script run? It was not a good introductory experience. I never came back around and got into it.
Well, and I think
go ahead.
For me, I played around with Linux and OS X, so it was cool being able to at least assume I could reuse bits and pieces of like bash commands and just be able to recreate that on PowerShell and do all kinds of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what are you doing these days? What are you working on?
Primarily, I am working on, I'm a SharePoint developer. Mm-hmm. So many of the SharePoint developers already know my pain. But I'm also ASP.NET Core developer.
Okay.
So just a lot of internal stuff for the company I work at. Mm-hmm. A lot of random things I'd like to get my hands on. I like to discover libraries and just see what I can do with it.
That's super cool.
So you doing because they changed SharePoint a few years ago. You doing SharePoint with like web parts and stuff like that, or are you doing old school SharePoint?
I'm doing server side SharePoint. So that's all the fun. Yeah, it's cool. I know there's a threshold for SharePoint development, and I try to remind everyone of this. SharePoint out of the box, it's fantastic. It does what it's supposed to do. As soon as you try to make it do what it's not, that's when you're going to open Pandora's box, and you'll never know when the downfall is going to occur.
Surprise.
Yeah, the three of us used to work together in Louisville, Kentucky, and the owners of the company there were some former SharePoint MVPs. So a lot of our early prototypes were nothing but SharePoint implementations of what an application can be, and just seeing what can be done just with SharePoint is amazing. That doesn't necessarily mean that it should be done, but there's certainly a lot of capability there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of things that you can do, but you probably shouldn't. Mm-hmm. But I did one cool thing with SharePoint. So where I work, we do a lot of SharePoint sites for external people. And I knew for this individual project that whatever was presented to me as requirements would likely not stay the same. And there was no way I'm continuously deploying SharePoint features, because it brings down based on what type of feature it is. If it's a global feature, you're bringing down the entire farm or that web app for at least. And so I decided to use one of my favorite things, PowerShell. So what I did was, I have PowerShell integrated into my SharePoint. So I made this feature that allows me to call PowerShell scripts from list items. So like I have this specific list where you pop an item into it that points to the script and passes in parameters, and it essentially downloads it to the server that's executing that individual that event receiver. And so I can configure an entire site collection, apply all kinds of customizations to it with just a set of PowerShell scripts. So whenever they change their mind for something, a new site, there it is.
Nice. Very cool.
I'm not sure I've ever been anywhere where the business folks change their mind on features.
Oh yeah, there's been times where features were changed almost immediately after I've completed them. So I'm like, you know what? I know what's going to happen. Let's just prepare for it, and let's do something completely out of the box. And it's been working really well.
Cool.
And in your bio, you mentioned that you're a big part of the Windows Insider community and a Windows Insider MVP. Why don't you take a few minutes and just tell our listeners what that is and what that entails?
Absolutely. So the Windows Insider community, basically with Windows 10, actually when Windows 10 was in preview, like way back in, I think late 2004, 2014, 2015, we all got a chance to test out what was going to be the full Windows 10. So everyone involved, especially a lot of people from the Windows Phone, Windows Mobile community. That's my original belonging. RIP Windows Phone.
Yeah, moment of silence.
Yeah. But when I first received the email that they were doing this thing, I immediately signed up for it because we were given the opportunity to help bridge Windows. Like, here's our migration from Windows 8 to Windows 10. Here's a new OS that you can be a part of. So I, from the get-go, I immediately was down for it. So what I've been doing the entire time, every single device I have has been in the Windows 10 preview since day one. And there's many, there's levels to the preview. You have the bleeding edge I'd say, the bleeding edge ring, which is the dev ring. Wow, they've changed the names. I feel bad because I actually forget this. You have the dev, I think it's the beta ring. And you have another ring, which is the release preview. Mm-hmm. So the release previews are the ones that are just about to come out the stable. So the next big update that gets released to everyone, that's the more stable branch. You get the beta branch, which is a little less stable, but still usable. Now the dev branch, that's here it is every week. Every Wednesday you get a new build. It may or may not work properly. For the most part, everything's been stable, but there's going to be bugs. Mm-hmm. And for me, I have this weird ability to find bugs or things just happen on my devices that doesn't really happen to everyone else's.
We had a nickname for that person. We called them the Edge Case.
I'm also an Edge insider also, so I run for me, I run everything. Like, I like that bleeding edge stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But for back to the Windows Insiders, I feel like it's we've seen how Windows has grown. We've seen Windows ME. We've all experienced all of the iterations. But the fact that the team has reached out and said, "Hey, we need your help testing this stuff." There's only so much that they and their testers can test because there's so many different system configurations. Mm-hmm. I would never even imagine how one piece of software with some other piece of hardware can completely make Windows completely unstable. Mm-hmm. And it's always like something really weird that you never expect. Mm. But those are the type of things that they ask for us to follow feedback. And what I do personally is while I'm on Twitter, I tell everyone, follow the feedback. If you have an issue with any piece of Windows, something updated, something doesn't work right after an update, or even the installation didn't go right, follow the feedback because they look at that. It's like a necessary. Sometimes I can see people getting annoyed with having to write this detailed information, but it's been really helpful because the more people take that little bit of time to add the feedback in, it takes the diagnostics from your computer and ties it to your description, so that helps the engineers that are in charge of that piece of Windows or that application. They can get that feedback, they can bring it back and analyze it, and we have a fix for it. We fixed this in this next build. That's some of the most exciting things to see, that something that you filed or filed with someone else, it got fixed because you put that time into it. So that's really the excitement for me.
Do you run these early versions or early ring versions of Windows on your daily driver? Is this this is on your primary work machine?
No fear.
Oh yeah.
You are very much living dangerously.
Well, and I do it because I know there's our deployment team at work. Some of them, they test out these individual builds, and as I said, I have this ability to run into something, and if I troubleshoot it and I find a fix for it, I can warn them in advance. Like, be on the lookout for this. This is what's going to change in this build. So if you have this script or this application isn't compatible with this, you need to update this. I'm helping everyone out. So it's like I kind of sacrificed the stability of my machine just for some weird excitement with troubleshooting.
Yeah,
That's cool.
You've probably already written the PowerShell script to auto save no matter what application is open and auto commit and push all your code anyway, right?
That's a good idea. I haven't done that.
Yeah, so it sounds like Windows users everywhere owe you a Starbucks gift card at the very least, right?
I wouldn't go that far, but
We started GoFundMe.
I just find it really cool.
Yeah,
GoFundMe, huh?
Must have
coffee.
coffee.
Definitely. Just at least 2 to 3 cups a day, at least.
And you've also been tweeting out a fair amount about running .NET on ARM.
Oh yeah.
So what has that experience been like?
Well, the experience initially, so I'm going to go back to 2018. That's at Build. I happened to win. There's a Asus NovaGo. That was the first, I guess, one of the first Windows on ARM laptops that were released at that time. And immediatally after getting it, the first thing as anyone does who is a dev to some new device, you try to put Visual Studio on it. Needless to say, yeah, it works because it's x86, which to do a little sidetrack onto that, the Windows on ARM devices have x86 emulation.
Nice.
So anything that's compiled for 32-bit x86 Windows, you can run those apps on the devices, which for the most part they're okay. Until you start getting all these processes going, and then it kind of ruins the experience a little bit. But one of the first things I did after that was install the Windows subsystem for Linux, because I knew they had a .NET Core build for that. So I think at that time it was .NET Core 2.1, and it was really cool just to simply run a simple .NET app, run ASP.NET Core stuff from this ARM device that had like no fans in it, and I had a battery life that could last like 17, 18 hours of usage. So just seeing that amount of optimization, that really got me into the excitement of, I want to see if I can run this, compile this and run this natively on the Windows side of the ARM. So that's what I went from there. Just try to get the best out of this device, because it's still a little newer. Even though it's been a few years, it's still newer in terms of support. So if I'm going to have a device, I'm going to try to get the most out of it.
So you're saying if I unplug the fans out of my laptop, then I'll get insane amounts of battery life? Because I think Clayton tried something similar, and I don't think it's gone very well.
Yeah, it'll probably melt.
To be fair, I never ran out of battery.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, these like the Samsung phones, like your Android phones, your Windows phones, well, we'll go with just Samsung phones or Android phones. Those are running just about the same type of SoC that are running in these Windows on ARM laptops. So you have that efficiency that your phone has with battery life and performance, just in a different form factor and running Windows. Like heck, a few of my wild friends put Windows on ARM made it run on a Lumia 950 and 950 XL.
Nice.
Yeah, really surprising. But that just shows like how efficient it is. Because you can still do all the stuff on it.
How has Windows on ARM improved from 2018, you said, to now?
Well, at first there were some bugs, definitely some bugs, because there were only 2 to 3 machines out, and I think when the Surface Pro X came out last year, I immediately had to hop on that. So a lot of the things I filed in Feedback Hub, since I like to run preview builds on everything that I own, I actually believe that I've been able to help out in resolving a lot of these bugs that could actually be potential blockers for other devices with these chips in them. My stability has gone up. It's been so much faster running things. It's just so cool to see Microsoft putting in a lot of effort to support ARM64, because there was a time, I'd say early 2019, where it's just like, okay, I have this Windows on ARM device. There's like 1 or 2 apps out here that natively support it, and everything else is, emulated.
Right.
Like, where y'all at? I've seen Edge on there. Edge runs. Edge, actually, Firefox was the first, thing outside of the Edge legacy that I was able to run natively on my devices. When I saw the performance in that, I was sold. I was sold right there. And then I compiled Chromium and got it running on there. Like, it's stuff like that. That's what actually drives me. When things don't work, I will waste so much time just to see if I can make it work. Even if I have alternatives, if I have a MacBook Pro that's we're on right now and a few other devices, even if I can move to those devices and achieve that. If I started out, my plan was, okay, I'm going to do this, and there's a roadblock. Like, we're going to try to get past this roadblock because I want this consistent experience across the board. And
very cool.
So
yeah, that's really how everything goes with me.
have there been any roadblocks, or are there things to take into consideration when writing applications for ARM in .NET, in .NET Core? We are recording this on November 9th, so the eve to the .NET 5 release. Are there things that we can look forward to in that release that you're aware of?
Yes. So .NET 5 is the actual first fully supported .NET build that runs on Windows ARM 64. So I did last year managed to compile .NET Core 3.1 to run on it, but it's definitely not supported. But for this, we have full support. The .NET team and all the contributors, they're putting in heavy work, and they have been over the past year to really ramp up on the Windows ARM 64 support for this. I'd say the only thing that we're not going to see for that yet is, I believe I know we're not going to see WPF immediately, because there have been some when they brought WPF over and ported it from .NET Framework into .NET Core, they just kind of went, oh, here you go. But they didn't get all the testing suite and all that ported over, really. So there's still a lot of work before that's out. I do know in the previews we had Windows Form support. WinForm support was it was really awesome, because I took a few .NET Framework based WinForm apps, copy pasted them into a new solution, changed the project file around, and using the same instructions for porting a .NET Framework to .NET Core WinForm, running that on my Pro X and just seeing it work. I was just like, this is fantastic. So I do know that, there's going to be a few things missing at first for the Windows on ARM, but we're going to see it come in later on. I know that's one piece that people were kind of concerned about, but we've been at a lot of the WinUI community talks, just asking the questions. Well, primarily me. It's like, where's ARM64? Keeping them on the roadmap. We can't forget about this. There's too much promise with this platform.
Yeah.
For the most part, is it going to be similar to the other? Evan, like, is it an official compile target? Can you go to the drop down and x64, x86, ARM?
Yeah, that's actually supported. Because funny enough, there is support for compiling the UWP apps for ARM64.
Mm-hmm.
That's been supported. I guess a lot of the trouble is there's no emulator, so you actually have to have an ARM64 device to even be able to test that it works or not.
Mm-hmm. Just
pray and deploy.
Yeah. Well, and I've been telling the developers, because it's been one of my pet peeves. Every time this new app comes out, I go to download it, x64, because a lot of people are getting rid of compiling for x86 because it's like, okay, we have x64, we have more memory address space and etc. performance, so why even care about x86? So then I get mad because we get left out. But so anyone who develops these apps and needs testing, I just reach out like, hey, I will gladly test it, because naturally there are things that will always blow up if you don't have the proper testing, which we have seen. But that's kind of one of the only things that, one of the few things I'd say that you would have to watch out for when you're developing for Windows on ARM. Make sure you have a device. And I think, the Surface Pro X, that's, one of my favorite devices. They just came out with an updated version of the Pro X with a newer processor in it. So the price has gone down on the regular Pro X. And there's, I think Samsung has a Galaxy Book S, forget, and LG is coming out with a Windows on ARM laptop of their own. So there's some hype. Things are getting up there.
These naming conventions, though, geez.
Oh yeah,
it's hard to tell.
They get a little confusing.
Well, we've gone from slapping an I on the front of everything to an X on the end of everything. It's fine. So we just need a Windows phone application, and then like you could like get a phone, install Windows on it, install the Windows Phone app from the Windows Store, and you'd have a fully functioning Windows phone, right? But you could run Visual Studio on
it. And pretty much that's it. Kind of what they done with the Lumia 950s. It's really interesting. I actually find it hilarious. Like, this phone, you just see the Windows phone, you see this little tiny screen on it running Visual Studio. So it's just hilarious.
Definitely set the font to like 50 point or something.
Again, Clayton, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So let's just not.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those cases.
It's worth a go.
So do you think this category of sort of Windows on ARM is sort of the thing that can compete against like the Chromebooks and start cutting into like sort of the everyday user laptop machines, or do you think that they're going to be sort of a whole new experience altogether?
Well, I see them as that competitor, because they're the efficient powered device that you can they're always on PCs, so you can shut it, open it, you're in, and you don't have to worry about looking for like a supercomputer, because they're definitely not that. They're meant for the primary. I'm doing heavy internet based things in the browser. So that's kind of the primary use, but you can do more. So it is kind of being that competitor to it. But I think with the more developer experience, with more developers doing more stuff, as Windows itself continues to evolve, I think we'll see this eventually become something that can be a full, complete dev experience. I try to make it that experience because I can do just about everything on it, because VS Code, I can run that. They have it's compiled for ARM64 natively, runs perfectly, so I can do dev from it. But it's definitely not a dev first machine right now.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see more of that, or more options available, because I know that Apple is deciding that Intel is no longer for them, so they're going to be bringing in their own chipset. Are there other chipsets? Are there other options out there available that are going to be explored, that are being explored?
I believe so. There's still like the RISC processors. Linux has been on top of it for years. They've been like, you'll see a Linux distro for just about everything. Like some processors architectures I've never even heard of before then. But that's one thing I really find like amazing, because if you think about Raspberry Pi 3 and 4, those are ARM64. You have Ubuntu, Gentoo, Debian. You have those having ARM64 distros available. You can just throw on them. So it's going to be really interesting to see if where Windows decides to go. Seeing the popularity. So I think honestly, with so many people using these Raspberry Pis, and you see that the popularity. You have the Pine Book. You have all of these Linux-based devices that they've seen the promise of how efficient this architecture is. They're running. I could run Docker and Kubernetes clusters off of like my Raspberry Pis and Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL2 on my Pro X. I can run Docker on it. I could do like all of that. So if that's possible, I think there's a great possibility for Microsoft to really up the stakes with this and say, let's go all in. Let's get everyone using this. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what these developers can do to change this landscape.
Yeah, I've got a cluster of, I think, 6 Raspberry Pi 3B plus, or whatever the designation for those is, that I realize I haven't powered those on in probably about a year. So it might be time to dust those off and see what's possible, see what they're capable of doing again.
Yeah, because I know recently Ubuntu has an ARM64 image for it that you can put on devices. I don't know if it's for 3 or not, but I know at least it's for 4. So I would check, but it's really cool to see everyone is taking the stakes. Cool. Apple Silicon, I'm really excited about that also. Just knowing that Apple's like, hey, they have their own chips they've been using in the iPads, iPad Pros, etc. these like super massive, awesome chips that are in an iPhone. I'm like, wow. And they're completely switching from Intel, saying we're all in on this. They've seen the promise. So there's really, I say sky's the limit with this. I think these next few years we're going to see a shift. At least in my opinion, we're going to see a nice big shift towards these type of devices.
Yeah, I think we've started to plateau in what's possible, what the capabilities of the Intel and the AMD architecture. So I think exploring the other options available, exploring just different methods of compute and that type of thing is really going to be the next step, the next wave, the next most interesting thing. But since you're kind of the go-to for testing a lot of the inner ring things, part of the Insider program, the Windows Insider MVP, and working so hard, working as much as you do with the community. I also know that you're quite involved with the .NET Foundation. Do you want to take just a few minutes and share what it is you do with the .NET Foundation and maybe how others can get involved?
Yeah, so the .NET Foundation, just like a few years ago, I happened to see so much things on the internet. I actually think it might have been the .NET Conf. I really started to do what I typically do every year and tweet spam and kind of show everyone all the cool stuff that I keep finding. But for some of me being a developer and me loving .NET and wanting to see it grow, I decided let's try to apply for this. And I got in, and I was just so overjoyed that just to see we have all of these outreach groups, all these groups that anyone can get involved with, just to get experience from saying, hey, this is this open source community that wants to grow .NET, wants to get everyone involved, all the library authors. How can we get more people involved with .NET and keep it running? So that's, I started out with like the outreach group. I've been involved with the project group. So it's just really cool because I'm learning so much and being exposed to a lot of people in the .NET community that I see their names, but just having that interaction with them, talking to so many different cool people, that I get excited because .NET's my thing. That's what got me my job. That's what kind of keeps me going. But I remember when things were still closed source, and there didn't really have much guidance unless you wanted to drop like 15-20 grand to have someone show you things. But now you have this community that they write code and they want people to contribute because they understand that you can't do it all by yourself. At times, if you have this awesome thing, you want to see it grow, you realize the power of community. By just reading source code from even .NET, so much stuff I've learned, seeing the interactions on the issues. It's helped me grow as a developer, like overall. So me being a part of the .NET Foundation, I see that as me trying to level up all around with .NET and the potential ways that we can keep .NET going into the future instead of it's being stale. So that's what I see from that. It's that opportunity because we have, there's new developers that are either leaving college and graduating college, or just looking for a way to get into development.
Yeah.
And that the JavaScript world, they have it on lock.
Yep.
They own it.
Yep.
They can snap fingers and they'll bring in so many devs. And I think that's obviously one of the big issues with .NET, because there's still a lot of, I guess, that legacy mindset where there's obviously a good 5-6 ways of doing things at a minimum. And there's the back and forth, like, well, it should be done this way. We did this 15 years ago. We did this. But I think if we can get that all together, bring in more people and show them, like, hey, here's the cool things you can do with .NET.
Yeah.
You can, you can create web, desktop, mobile. You can deploy an app to a Samsung fridge. Tell me that's not cool. And just to being able to I can use one language. I can make a library and just say, oh yeah, I'm going to use it for this now. Yeah, maybe this new target's out here. I'll deploy to that. I have this backend code that's everywhere. And I think there's a lot of, a lot of promise where we're at right now. And the .NET Foundation is, doing what they can to, bring in people to say, hey, you want to improve the perception of .NET? You want to improve this landscape? Come on board. Let's all work together. Let's get a plan going and let's help improve this. Let's improve this perception.
Cool.
So, obviously there's still a lot of work, but it's still something that, excites me and makes me want to do more for the .NET community as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of people, bringing people on board, for the people that have been listening, are there any resources that you might call out for folks who maybe want to get involved in the Window Insider program, or folks that want to jump, on writing apps for ARM, or maybe even get involved in the .NET Foundation?
Yeah, definitely. So for Windows Insiders, on Twitter, there's the Windows Insider account, literally just Windows Insider. You can go on, I think it's insider.windows.com. Basically, you can just search for Windows Insiders and you'll find the link there. But it walks you through how you can join the program and basically what to expect, how to test your devices, how to follow feedback, and you'll be able to at least see a lot of others from the Windows Insider community, interact with them, and just learn more about how things work. For the .NET Foundation, it's dotnetfoundation.org. Everything's there. Main page.
Cool.
Hit that up. Shows you how to join. Shows just the perks of joining. You can see all the projects that are available underneath the .NET Foundation, which .NET happens to be one of those projects. Honestly, everything I do, how I've discovered just about everything has been Twitter. That's my main source of information. So when I tell people, hey, I just learned this, I discovered this, well, I'm in this now. And they're like, where'd you find that? Oh, I just happened to find it on Twitter.
Cool.
What has been helpful in your career that you might share with those just getting started or those looking to level up their careers?
What's really helped me is branching out to different developers. And really, I say social media. So Twitter, just about everything I've found in terms of resources started there. So when I got my exposure to everything, I felt it was really important to try to see what everyone else is doing, because I obviously just picked things up and ran with it. But having the proper guidance, or even different styles of doing development, time management and project management, finding all those different avenues, that's important. And also, I think contributing to open source is very important, because you learn so much. It's scary at times, because even for me personally, if I find this bug and maybe I fix the source of something, but just afraid to check it in, or like, oh, they're going to grill me during the PR process. Maybe you got to get past that. Contribute, read through, see what everyone else has who has contributed, see how they've done stuff. Take time, read through the docs, pull down the source, and getting understanding, because you learn so much. That's what I do. I'm hands-on. I learn by just reading code for the most part. I debug, I step through. Yeah, I'm one of them. I step through and like, oh, okay, this is how this works. But just asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. However, stupid as you think it may be, ask the question, because someone's going to have an answer. So that's really my advice. Just go for it. Don't hold back. Go for it.
Cool. Yeah. So speaking of like sort of reaching out and broadening the folks you might be listening to, where can our listeners go to find and follow up on you, maybe reach out to you and keep up with what you're working on?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, as I like to reference. My Twitter handle is Sinclairinator.
Nice.
I won't spell it out. You've likely have seen me, and there'll probably be something that spells it out, because it takes forever. But tomorrow is .NET Conf, so that's going to be a wonderful opportunity to catch up with me, because I'm going to be tweet spamming under the .NET Conf hashtag. So every cool thing I find during that conference, it's going to be flooding the Twitter wall. So Get exposed. This is how I expose people to other technology, and how I get exposed myself. So you follow me, you'll be entertained.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks, Jeremy. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me on here.
That was Jeremy Sinclair. Jeremy is an enthusiastic developer with over 10 years of development experience. He's also part of the Windows Insiders community and a Windows Insider MVP.
If you like this episode, please like, rate, and review on iTunes.
Find show notes, blog posts, and more at sixfiguredev.com.
And catch us live each week on Twitch. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at sixfiguredev.
This has been another episode of the Six Figure Developer Podcast, helping others reach their potential. I am John Calloway.
I'm Clayton Hunt.
And I'm John Ash.
A little bit of music.
All right. And we will stay live on Twitch and carry on the conversation for as long as people want to stick around. So, Jeremy, again, thank you. I appreciate it. Feel free to just stick around or drop out if you have other items you need to take care of. I know that Clayton had some questions about a breadboard that he was working on for Ash. But
well,
questions
not working
for
on
Ash.
Whatever.
English is hard. So what are you most looking forward to tomorrow, Jeremy, regarding the .NET 5 release? Is it just the release? Is it more for .NET Comp? I honestly haven't kept up on any of the marketing spiel for what's coming out or what we can expect this week, I guess.
Yeah, really, I'm just looking forward to .NET 5 as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's been a lot of performance improvements from .NET Core 3.1 up until then. C# 9. I keep seeing devs just showing all this cool stuff, the syntax. It's like, oh wow, you can actually do that now. I can say is not null or is this or that instead of double pipe galore.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. I know there's a few projects at work that I've been itching to put on .NET 5. I know I need to redo my blog. That's currently running .NET Core 3.1.
Nice. Is that
I did it all for my Pro X also.
Nice. Is that all homegrown?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. There's something cool about this. I started it back when .NET Core was it MVC 6?
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually the first thing I built with .NET Core, and I just kind of kept it going. I felt like I needed a reason to use .NET Core, so the first thing I did was, well, let's create a blog. Let's use .NET Core and EF Core. Convert. I basically exported all of my WordPress posts and popped them into a database, and voila.
Nice.
Didn't just use the existing MySQL or whatever was the back end for your WordPress site?
I could have, but the old host didn't actually have the best .NET support, so I decided to move my site to Azure. It's like,
nice.
That's kind of best of both worlds right there.
Yeah, GoDaddy needs to get with the times.
Yeah, totally does.
They don't support Node or .NET on their shared servers, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
Drop failure,
well, I think
John.
This is where I think Blazor would be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, love Blazor.
Yeah, Clayton hates everything except Blazor.
right now.
That may be an accurate statement.
That's.
Oh no,
right
there's I think you should try out Uno platform. That thing is awesome.
Uno?
Yeah,
Yes.
I've not heard this.
You're probably not going to sway me, but Uno platform.
So it's a platform.uno. That's the C#. Think of it as the UWP framework, a write once, run all.
Okay, so this is kind of like what Maui is trying to be, right?
Yes. So this is really more geared towards if you're a Windows 10 developer and you want to just use the Windows 10 XAML to create something. You can create it in Visual Studio or anything, compile it for Windows 10, Android, iOS. I think they have Linux support now, Skia Sharp, Mac OS.
I'll have to look at this because we are trying to get rid of our mobile developers, or I mean, make them switch over to C#.
Did they know that?
Yeah, that's cool. I did something for UnoConf earlier this year. It was one of my random PowerShell scripts I made for interacting with the Azure DevOps work items, because I could never accurately track my time, never. So I'm just like, I'll make a PowerShell script where I just type in the work item number, press enter. It does, like a timer. I press a key, then it writes it back. So I decided, you know what, let's just convert this to run a Uno app. So I did it, and it was so cool to just write this one interface where I could, everything was in C#, so I started to convert that from PowerShell. But I had one UI and just about one backend that had the logic for communicating with Azure DevOps. I compiled it, threw it up on macOS, Android, iOS, and WebAssembly, and it all worked.
That would be nice.
And it looked exactly the same. So the way that UI looked on Windows 10, that's exactly how it looked everywhere else.
Is
is
there a way to get it to look native?
Yes,
Okay.
there's ways to do that also, but it was just cool. Just I wrote something once and it worked everywhere exactly as I wanted it to.
XAML.
Like, yes.
Yeah, I think that's always like kind of the. I know a lot of developers were really frustrated because you had the Windows Phone XAML, you had the WPF XAML, Windows 10 XAML, you had Xamarin Forms XAML, and you get really confused with trying to switch between some things implemented here, some things not implemented here.
Yeah, my biggest complaint is the controls. Just if I want to build a grid or a table or whatever you want to call it, I want to use the same control name for wherever it is that I am. But like, you go to the web and it's a table. You go to Xamarin and it's some kind of stack grid thing that I don't. It's horrible.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the trade-off with the ability to have options.
We don't need options.
It works.
We just need C# everywhere.
Well, I think that's one thing I believe Maui's bringing is that MVU style, where you can just create the entire UI in a nice style and it work. Do all your bindings and everything from just C# and be done with it.
That's what I want.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Is the preview coming out this week? Do you know? I haven't kept up on that either.
Actually, I am not sure. I think, don't quote me on that because I do not know for sure.
It's like super early, right? Like they haven't even technically officially announced it or some junk, right? Like it only exists in rumors.
They announced it they announced Maui back in May.
I don't have anything for it though. Oh, look, it's an island.
We might actually see something.
I think they said preview before the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, previews Q4 2020, so.
It may not be the best name. It is difficult to look up.
Well, it's .NET Maui. It's always .NET Maui.
Well, I mean, I like to search short. Just Maui. Then I had to scroll.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, you do have to scroll. Because at least the second to the last link for me.
Well, I mean, I guess it could have said Azure on it somewhere, or
yeah, that would have been fun. .NET Azure Maui.
Yep. DevOps Maui. Stop it. I searched .NET Maui, and it was, here's the introduction blog post is the first one, and then the GitHub repo is the second link for me.
Look at me, I know how to search.
We did a whole episode on this, I thought.
Yeah, I'm really good at search.
Maybe you should go back and review some of the
I got there eventually. I just had to scroll.
Yeah, I like to see, I like that the Xamarin team, they took a step back. It's like, okay, we'll have time to actually create something that doesn't fully break everything. So there's been a lot of, in the beginning there were pitfalls with performance because I used Xamarin Forms back in it was like Xamarin Forms 1.5.
I started with a 1. It's got problems.
Yeah. And that was there were some really interesting things because I had some complex UI that I had to do, custom renderers galore. There were many times I've just, scrolling in a list just crashed Android 98% of the time.
Nice.
iOS would just randomly not work during one of the updates. Which I think it was iOS 9.2, where there was some big bug that broke something with web views. So it nuked one of the apps that we had, and I had to go figure that out.
Details.
I think that things have gotten better.
Yeah, I started playing around with .NET 5 for a conversion of a Node app this week, and then was watching Jeff Fritz's stream on Twitch, and while I'm doing that, and like I'm reading up on how to get it going, and I didn't read thoroughly because developer and I don't read, but I clicked the checkbox in Visual Studio to allow the preview bits, and then installed .NET 5 release candidate 2, and still couldn't actually create a .NET 5 app. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And then I read the document more closely, and it said you have to use the preview version of Visual Studio, not the real version with the preview thing. And so I'm like ranting in chat on Fritz's stream. Like, but I clicked the preview checkbox. It's like, nope. You have to do the preview version of like words.
Yeah, we had fun with that. I think last year sometime I was on the stream, and I think he was doing something either with I can't remember if it was VS for Mac or he was doing something with between command line and Visual Studio, and we saw just havoc happen when trying to use the preview build during the full non-preview Visual Studio. So like, I guess that's why they say, and the preview bits probably shouldn't do that as your daily IDE. Always use the preview, because a lot of stuff actually changes, like is packed in with the preview bits. And he never realized until I always make that mistake with Xamarin. I had installed the preview bits and then realized that, this version of Xamarin's installed. And then I try to go back to using the non-preview Visual Studio, and then
wait, you can't say that you guard against from using the preview bit. You are the preview bits guy.
Yeah. Well, there's always something that's
not those
some extension I'll have installed with on my main Visual Studio that I need to run over here. That's not upgraded to work with that preview yet, and
yeah,
I always have multiple versions of things running. Like I have 3 versions of Edge on my computer that they're actually used specifically for cases.
Yeah, I only have two versions of Edge, and I don't use either one of them. So,
yeah, my Visual Studio still says Visual Studio 2019 RC. I can't get rid of the RC.
Oh, I remember that little bug. That because it happened. I think it happened when
it was sometime
either 16 or 15.9 or something into 16 that bug existed, where the icon never changes. You open it up and still has the title bar saying RC in it.
Yeah, it's not RC, but it thinks it is. Just be that way.
I forget how to get around that, but
just wait for Visual Studio 2021.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that's going to be.
It'll only support it on ARM. That's what it'll be.
No, it won't be supported on ARM. That's one of the things I've stopped asking. I've stopped asking that question because I think for years, the first since I got my first ARM 64 device on Windows, Like, so we're going to get a 64-bit version of ARM64 version of Visual Studio ever? And the answer was no. Heck, the IDE itself is still x86.
Yeah, there's technical reasons for that. I can't remember what they are right now, but I've looked them up before.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying. We had a guy at work was having a bug, and he couldn't figure out why. And what had happened is one of his projects had got flipped over to compile x80 or x64, and then the debugger couldn't read it or something, and so just everything was broken. It was something with his tests. The test runner wouldn't run tests against it. Couldn't find the tests.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, so he had to change it back to x86. So
delete all the tests. Problem solved.
yeah. Well, I mean, they couldn't find them anyway, so leaving them in, taking them out, didn't matter. I saw Aaron on there earlier. Is he alive? He's like stone drunk, but he just logged in just because. Aaron, are you out there? Drop if you're. Hey, Wesley.
Wes is there.
He was our first subscriber, and then Aaron bought subscriptions for everybody he saw. I'm not complaining. I just, it's probably only 1 month. We're gonna have to get Aaron to keep that up.
Yep.
How's it going, Wesley?
We didn't start later today. We're just hanging out after we recorded.
Yeah, so actually we didn't start later. We're just on later. Because I told John we need to keep our numbers up. We got to get some people interacting. It's the podcast after show, where we just hang out with the guest and talk about random stuff instead of actually trying to produce content.
Yeah, I want to hear more about how you're trying to blow up your son's RC car.
Oh yeah,
this sounds interesting.
So I wish I could find.
Clayton likes to overdo. I don't know everything.
So I've got this battery. It's actually green. You just can't see it. But it's a 7.4 volt lithium ion with a 5200 milliamp hours power. The original truck ran on this board, and in the back of the board it had these two, I think they are also LiPo. I'm not real sure, but it had these two batteries, and they are 3.2 volt 500 milliamp hours. So we would take he was finally started to get into the truck, so we'd take the truck out, and it would last like 15 minutes and then die, and then he'd be like, oh, and we'd have to walk the truck around the rest of the block. So I was like, I got a soldering iron, I can fix it.
I can release a smoke monster.
No smoke monsters. So I did some research before I even bought the battery. I was like, okay, I can't find a battery with a larger amount of power or energy available and the same voltage. So is there a way to adjust the voltage? And you can get voltage regulators, but I didn't find those first. I found ways to reduce voltage using resistors or capacitors or some other stuff. And I was like, well, I've already got a bunch of resistors and capacitors, so I'll build one of those circuits. So I did the calculations. It was like a 20,000 ohm resistor on one end and a series of resistors on the other end, and we built this little circuit that's on the back of the board, and I tied it into these positive negative spots, and the math says that it should have been producing 3.2 volts, and then those would get plugged into the plus and minus for the two batteries that were originally on the board. We plugged it in and nothing happened at all. So I couldn't find my multimeter, so I ordered one, and then today I checked the voltage that was showing up, and it was the full voltage of the battery instead of the 3.2 volts like it's supposed to be. So earlier I was asking Ash if he knew what maybe I had messed up, and I even built.
You were talking about like a voltage divider, right?
Yeah. resist. It's
And if the voltage is the resistance is on the same.
Resistor voltage reducer is what it's called. So normally, from what I've been reading, here's a, I'll put it over my face. Oh, I can't. I'll put it over John's face. We don't need to see him anyway. So normally, what's supposed to happen is this 5 volts in, right? And then you have a resistor. And according to the literature that I've got, it doesn't matter what kind of resistor it is, as long as it's the same on both ends.
That
and then it will half the voltage.
Yep.
So, So after the first circuit didn't work, I put together this breadboard circuit, which it's out of focus, hard to see, but it's got a resistor here and one down there. This crisscross is just me running from the leads of the resistor over to some contact points so I can measure the voltage. And measuring every point of voltage in and every point of voltage out has zero effect with this circuit and the battery that I have.
You did something wrong.
Clearly. I just don't know what. So it's either something like you were suggesting earlier. The battery is doing something weird. Like it's adjusting current to match, to increase the voltage to match current or something.
They usually do have something to make sure that the cells stay balanced. I'm not...
Right, and they should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that should be.
It's not some kind of weird out or anything. I mean, it's just positive, negative. So I don't know what the deal is. I did the calculations. It should have reduced the voltage down to 3.2 from the 7.4. The battery itself reads as like 8.3. So I would have expected still to see
it should be
3.3 or 3.4. Something. But it doesn't work.
So you're pulling. So the negative side of the battery and the negative side of what you're measuring.
Yeah. So I
those are all the same spot.
Yeah. So I put the leads from the multimeter on the V in, voltage in, and on the ground, and I got 8.4 volts. I put the leads on the VN divided by 2 and the ground, and I got 8.4 volts. I put the leads on the VN divided by 2 and the bit going back out to the resistor ground, 8.4 volts. It doesn't matter where I put the positive lead and the negative lead, I'm getting 8.4 volts. Because so this diagram doesn't show it, but in my mind, in some other diagrams I've seen, this wire comes out and goes back down to the ground.
I'll put it on Twitter.
Skipping over this resistor.
Jeremy, do you
halfway
have
down that
much experience in electronics and resistors and breadboards? And
the only experience I have is soldering in something.
Did you see the Twitch link I put in chat?
Yeah. The only experience I have is when my Samsung TV stopped working and
you took it apart, resoldered everything, and
yep, just made it work again. It made me mad because it was working fine one day, then I pressed the power button, didn't come on anymore. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna fix this. And so I did.
Nice.
I tried the same for my PS3 back when. That didn't work out too well.
Yeah, I did it for my Xbox 360 when I got the Red Ring of Death. I think it was the 360. So I opened it all up. I unplugged the fans, wrapped towels and clothes around it, turned it on, waited for a certain amount of time, and I guess it heats up enough that it reflows the solder so that it starts working again. I did that twice, and then I didn't have any problems after that. But what I'm trying to do is similar to this second diagram where I've got the 5 volts in and then 3 volts out. Instead of cutting it in half, I'm trying to create an imbalanced circuit.
Yeah. Did you see the link I sent you? Because it has that.
That's probably...
I put it up on Twitch.
Yeah, when I
9 volts, it's a 12 volt to 9 volt converter, but it'll work the same.
Yeah, I actually
keep going down.
Because nothing works, I actually ordered
one of those.
I ordered a 10-pack of 3.3 volt DC voltage regulators. So they'll step down from the right one. From 475 to through 12 volts down to 3.3. Now they do have 800 milliamps, which I can't find an accurate milliamp value for the battery because it's milliamp hours, and I assume that it's just going to keep increasing current as long as you'll take it to be whatever. So this will limit it to 800 milliamps.
Probably not.
Or it'll blow up when it goes past 800 milliamps.
Very possibly.
But
make sure you have your GoPro on.
Sure.
No, you can measure that. You just put it in your resistance circuit, and then just put your multimeter in series.
See, when I moved down to Florida, had a new TV in a box ready to go, and the box fell over, and so then my son decided that he wanted to jump up and down on the box.
Nailed it.
Oh man,
the screen spider webbed. It was great.
Ouch.
So donated that to the local hacker group, hacker club, hacker space, I think. So they had plenty of wiring and circuit boards and LEDs and whatever.
Okay, well, I saw a value for a second, and then that only measures up to 600 milliamps.
Make sure there's a resistance in line there. Like, so there's something to have load, and it's not just like throwing the entire...
Don't ruin this for us.
Or don't put a resistance and then see what happens to the battery.
The multimeter is the resistance.
No, you need more than multimeter.
It's not reading anything anyway, so...
But if you put the multimeter in series on, and you have to turn, I don't know, you'll have to select it to the current reader.
It's on hertz, milliamps, and then it lights up the places where I'm supposed to plug in the leads.
Is there sometimes there's a DC current and there's an AC current? Is it either one?
No, it doesn't seem to care.
Current AC, current DC. Okay.
Yeah.
.NET Conf. 15 hours and 35 minutes.
I can select function and get that, but it's on DC.
Okay. So then, you should have the... It should just be able to like put it in series off the one end of the resistor and connect the loop through the multimeter.
Except I just want it to read anything, like even for a second. And it won't. It did for a hot second.
Maybe you need to change the fuse now.
Maybe. I don't know that it has one. Or no, wait, it does.
So Twitch chat, if things go black or if the screen just disappears, Clayton has blown himself up and taken down the stream.
It's all good. Here, I'm going to show
We can always
John.
just blow on it like a NES cartridge. Maybe that'll work.
I was pretty good at that, but I don't think that'll fix it today. Anyway, so long story short, I'm probably going to end up building an entire RC monster truck from scratch.
Nice.
Hey, you've sized down your goals here.
Yeah, Clayton is
good.
the one that has built
it's a first step
forge. He built a forge and a foundry because he wants to build a car from scratch, including forging an engine block from aluminum.
I want to cast the engine.
Casting an engine from aluminum cans.
It'd be nice.
It's
I've
gonna
got
be
plenty
great.
of
That's
cans.
impressive.
Do you know there's different grades of aluminum?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have the exhaust manifold from a car that I can melt down.
Huh.
So I can get a few of those. It'll be fun. I'm starting with an RC car, and then we'll convert the RC car to a gas RC car. So I'll cast that little engine, and then we'll build an electric Batmobile go-kart thing for my son, and then I'll convert that to gas and make a little engine for that. We'll just keep getting bigger and bigger.
West
You're gonna build a jetpack?
I'm not really into flying. My neighbor is building a boat that's also a car that's also a plane.
Wow.
And he's casting all of that. So if he can do it, I can do it.
Wow, that's very
That sounds
interesting. I
insane.
need to see this. I have to see this.
I want to see it too.
It's under the headline Florida Man.
It might end up getting there.
Yeah, Wes reminded you that you have to create the universe.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm working on figuring out how to create a Big Bang. You'll know it when I get it though.
That we will.
I'm sure that my battle with resistors is confidence inspiring for everyone. But I'll get there. Baby steps. It's not my fault that they built a RC car that can't even go for 15 minutes. It's supposed to be a monster truck. It will not roll over anything. It only works on flat ground. It can't even defeat the grass.
Oh yeah, you have to fix that.
You should try like a motorcycle battery.
You know, there's these things called like hobby stores, and they sell
Or
like circuits.
or I can go to
at
Amazon.
RC. They'll even like help you with it too.
Oh, well, that would be nice, but I found this dude on, I think it's a dude. The hands are rough, which is why I think that. But like, I'm pretty sure that this individual is in India or the Philippines or something like that. Just because of the sounds you hear in the background and some of the scenery. But they are taking wood and bolts and whatnot, a grinder, a drill press, and a drill, like a hand drill. And they are building these RC cars. Like this
Nice.
video that I've got up right now, he makes the spring shocks for an RC car out of a bolt.
Whoa.
So I mean, he has a spring also, but he like basically lathes the interior of the shock out of a bolt. With he must have a tap. They
so
don't
he
show
just like
a tap,
uses
but
the threads for the spring.
no. He does have a spring.
Oh, okay.
It's not spring still. I don't think you could do the threads out of a spring or into a spring, but he has a spring, but everything else, the moving part and the knuckles that connect to the vehicle, he's like fashioning those all out of the bolt using a drill, some sandpaper, an angle grinder, and a drill press. I was like, if this dude
That's
can
impressive.
do that, then
Yeah.
I don't see why I can't build something too. And the alternative is a $400 RC kit car. I'm sure I'll spend more than $400, but that's beside the point.
Guaranteed.
The point is, I'm not spending $400 on a kit.
Right.
I don't know why there aren't, lower level entry kits. Like if I could go on Amazon and buy the base, like just a frame
Like I said,
base,
Did you
for
ever
like
hear of a
$20 I
hobby
would.
store?
But
We have them around us, and you can pretty much get all of those kit pieces piecemeal.
are you aware of this thing called a pandemic? The whole
You guys
world
are in
is
Florida.
infectious. You can't leave the house.
Well, that's true. The store's probably closed down. I haven't been to it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm getting stuff from Amazon. I'm ordered the voltage reducers or regulators. I'll just order what I can off of Amazon and fashion the rest of it. It'll be fun to like, get some sheet aluminum and shape it into the shape that I need. And I'm going to use 3/16 inch steel bar to do like the roll cage and that part of the frame. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to build something for me. Whenever I figure out what it is, I'm gonna need you to build it for me.
Make sure you order it way in advance. I'm famous for starting something and never finishing it.
Hey, what do you know? I do the same thing.
I almost have all the
many
tools
random
that I might need
ideas.
to build whatever, though. I need a mill and a lathe, and then I think I could build just about anything. Or the tools could build just about anything. Whether I can do it or not is up in the air.
Should try building an exoskeleton.
Actually, have you been? Do you know Hacksmith?
Sounds familiar.
He's a YouTuber. He's from Canada or wherever. He made a splash several years ago because he was building an Iron Man suit, or at least that was his plan.
Yeah, I
He's
think I might have seen that.
slowly making progress on that, but he's actually one of the current projects that he's got that he's interleaving stuff in is the aliens suit that she uses to kill the Queen Alien stuff. But it's like real, like full size, made out of metal with hydraulics and everything.
The yellow load lifter?
Yeah, the loader. That's what it is.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
They are cheating though. They're going to use tracks instead of legs, which makes me sad. I think that they should have done legs. Originally there was a dude that wore that loader suit as a cardboard costume, and then Ripley stood on the, I guess it wasn't cardboard, plywood or whatever, but she's basically sitting on the guy's chest, and he's doing all the stuff. It's crazy. It looked really good though. It was an excellent special effect.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So enough
That's
about me.
really weird to imagine.
How's the baby stuff going, Ash?
We're 4 weeks away, so
Oh, wow,
Something
congrats.
close to 5 weeks away, I give maybe. So pretty much it could happen anytime.
That kid's always gonna wonder, would I have gotten more for Christmas if I was born some other time of the year?
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
Well, I can just tell him you don't get anything. So
Yeah, we're gonna celebrate your birthday in a couple weeks. Don't you worry.
don't you worry. If none of my kids get anything for Christmas, then he won't have to worry about that. Or she won't have to worry about that.
Oh, there
right?
you go. That's one way.
Yeah, it's a fair
Nip
way
that
of
one
doing
right in
it.
the bud.
That's great.
Any woodworking stuff, John?
No, I was doing some guitar work and I kept screwing stuff up because I still don't have full feeling in my hand. So I'm gonna call doctors again and go from there.
I this next week, not this week, but next week is I've decided that I'm really fat and I probably don't need the 2.5 pounds of candy corn.
Oh, you can ship
I'll
those
take
to
them.
me.
I saw that you
Those right
complained.
over.
Yeah,
I saw that you complained on Twitter and that Amazon replied to you.
yeah. So it was their automotive department though.
What?
I got a notification that I was only four drops away, right, or four deliveries away, four stops. That's what it is. So I pull out the phone and I was something about Halloween and candy corn. I just really want. I don't even need a bunch, but that's what was available on Amazon. So I pulled out the phone and I was just gonna wait. I didn't want it melting out in the sun. We're in Florida, so so I pull out the phone and I'm watching the driver, and the dot's not really moving. And then after 10 minutes, the dot finally moved. It moved away from the house. And I'm like, what is going on? After half an hour, it was still down in the other neighborhood, like further away from me. And then I noticed that they changed their message from "you're 4 stops" or "you're the next delivery" to the driver had to make some other deliveries. We'll get around to you in a little bit.
Oh.
And that's when I tweeted. I was like, what the hey, Amazon? You know, like, I've got this craving for my candy, and your driver is like eating Jersey Mike's, just cruising around the neighborhood down there. So as soon as I sent the message, I finally exited their little I guess it's a browser page, but I exited that page and I just went back to my normal phone, and I saw that I got another notification that said that my package had been delivered. I pull up the app again. Our driver is still busy. We'll let you know when we get there. I'm like, come on. So that I had to respond back to Amazon that, you know, like, oh, well, I finally got the package, but your app is still messed up. It thinks that I haven't gotten my package. But to the first tweet, the Amazon Auto Parts Service department tweeted at me, and they were like, we're sorry to hear that you haven't gotten your package yet. Let us know if you need any help. I'm like, why is their automotive department asking me? It's candy corn. Like,
it's the automotive department is responsible for candy corn, obviously.
Apparently. I didn't at them. I didn't actually want them to reply because, one, they've been extremely unhelpful in the past, and two, I'm just having some fun on Twitter. But they sure replied. They got their bot looking for me now.
I had a very similar experience coming off of the Amazon Prime Day. So, like, I found they had these new headphones from Sony. They were, like, on half price. And I was like, well, that's sweet. And I needed a new headset because now I take all my calls, at home instead of being working in an office. So the day that they were supposed to deliver, they're like, yeah, you're 10 stops away. And then I get the notification, actually, your package is going to be completely delayed. And I was like, and they're like, the next thing I looked at it, I was like, they're like, actually, we may have lost your package. And then 2 days later, they're like, yeah, we still haven't found your package yet. And then they're like, you may want to issue a refund, or we can issue a refund now if you want. And I was like, well, I don't want to issue a refund because now Amazon Prime is over and I can't buy them for. They're like, but you still may be able to get them. And then I looked. I was like, we'll take a look at where it is. Like, was a track your package, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, this entered the facility at 7:30 this morning. I was like, how do you not know where it is? It says right here, it entered your facility 7:30 this morning. And then later on, they finally got it figured out. They're like, oh, well, we got your package and we're going to send it out to you later today.
I mean, if only they had RFID tags on everything and knew exactly where it was at all points during the system.
It was quite hilarious. I couldn't believe that we went from it's 10 stops away to we have no idea where your package is.
Yeah, that's wrong. That would drive me insane.
3 days later, I did get it, and I was happy, but I didn't bother tweeting at them or anything. I just yelled at my wife and was like, "Why hasn't Amazon got their stuff together?" And
so she physically called Amazon.
She gave me a beer and said, "Here, sit down, honey. It's okay."
We have so many Amazon packages in the front room, and it's like I don't know. Things arrive or they don't. I don't.
We are definitely abusing Prime because we'll order something and then wait, just long enough to where it won't be part of the same thing, and then order something else. Oh, that's right. I wanted the thing. Every couple hours, just adding
Prime's
stuff.
bad for me. Ever since, I think last month or a month before, I got Prime because I needed it for something. I don't know what I needed it for, but I decided, yeah, let's just get Prime because I don't feel like paying for all this shipping. And all I've done since then is bought a lot of candy, bought all kinds of other stuff. Like I got bottles of Gatorade that I have on, like, send to me every month. I'm like, oh, this is too efficient. Y'all can't be doing this to me.
Yep.
So I'm obviously going to look for something else that I don't need and order it just because.
Yeah, well, not
Subscribe.
to like get you more in that line, but they have their subscribe and save functionality. I don't know if you've looked at that, but that's what we use. But yeah, so we have like all of our paper towels and toilet paper and like soap and everything else. It just comes directly to us. We don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it in the grocery store. It's fantastic.
Yeah, my wife goes
I
bargain
actually
hunting.
do that.
My wife, we've got some stuff that ships automatically from Target, some stuff that ships automatically from Publix, some stuff that ships automatically from Walmart, and some stuff that ships automatically from Amazon. So it's just whatever's the better deal at the moment, I guess. It's crazy.
It's like automation's good and bad at the same time. Yeah, I think of DoorDash. I should have never discovered that. They should never have made that service because I could just press a button and have someone go and get my food for me and then deliver it to me.
That's what I do.
For anywhere. I'm like, oh my goodness.
You know what though?
I just turned so lazy.
They randomly close restaurants though. Like I couldn't get Burger King today for dinner because it's closed. Or on Sundays, my wife has a meetup group that she goes to, so I'm responsible for taking care of the kids. So naturally, I order pizza and we watch a movie.
Naturally, that's what I do too. But
the pizza place that we had been ordering from just randomly started closing about a month ago, and so it's who knows whether I'm going to get the pizza I want. It's very annoying because the place isn't actually closed. Like if I drove there.
Right.
They'd be open, especially Burger King.
Give me something that closes at 4 p.m. Like,
yeah,
no, you don't.
They're trying to look out for you. You need some more variety in your life. Sorry, that restaurant's closed.
You've ordered Burger King for 6 meals out of the last 5. We're turning it off.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, well, like I was saying earlier, I've realized that I'm like way too fat and it needs to end. So I am doing another water fast next week. So starting this Friday, I won't have food until next Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was John water fasting? You're not water fasting. You wouldn't.
Water and juice. Yeah.
Sweet. Virtual high five.
Really?
See, I would get in.
I'll
on
do
that,
it with you,
but
Clayton.
Maybe I'll try it for a week. I got to do it before Thanksgiving.
Well, so
Yeah.
I actually took the week off of work to do it because you do get hangry. And so I wanted to make sure that I was in as low stress environment as possible. Except
it looks like I'm not doing it.
I'm gonna take advantage of the time off, and I'm probably gonna go out in the garage and get frustrated because what I'm trying to build won't work. So, but at least I'll be in the garage throwing
Trying to
things where it'll be
cast an
safe.
engine block.
Well, actually,
You'll be in the garage with big hammers and fire. It'll be fun.
I really would love to. I've got a I think it's a foot by foot, maybe a little bit bigger than that, but I've got a 1 foot by 1 foot, 1/4 inch thick piece of high carbon steel that I need to cut up and turn into knives. Probably not while I'm hangry though.
Don't turn them into knives.
But I do want to.
Let's make a sword.
Yeah, I do want to make a sword. But I want to make like a Damascus sword, and I've got. I've got a little dagger. It's probably the actual blade part is probably only 6 or 7 inches long. That I made for my daughter. I have not finished it. It still doesn't have a handle. I did cast handle parts out of bronze, but I have to clean them up. And I've just gotten to a point where I'm so afraid to mess it up because I literally spent 6 weekends forging the Damascus for the thing. And I'm afraid that if I start grinding the knife to actually turn it into a knife, that I'll mess it up, and then I'll be sad. But I'm doing shop projects right now because my garage is a mess. So I'm trying to. Anyone paying attention can see that on the stream.
Yeah, I probably need to go and check on the kid.
Yeah, same here.
That
I
time as well.
gotta say good night to the kids. But I'll be doing shop projects this week. I'm working on a metal cart to put all my metal in. But
so again, Jeremy, thanks for coming on the podcast and thanks for hanging out with us afterwards. We are looking at the episode of the podcast, all cleaned up and pretty, is about 2 weeks away. So unless you've got something you'd like us to coordinate the release with, it will be out on Monday, November 23rd.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. And we will be back on Wednesday evening for live coding on Clayton's Blazor game engine project. It's a port of Monogame to Blazor.
Oh, really?
yeah. So good news and bad news for anybody who does show up for that. If Wesley's still on, he might like it. Might be. Yeah, looks like he's on.
Hey, and Frank's on too. Hi, Frank. Welcome.
But I've got a quick optimization that I think we can do to speed up the gem rendering so that it's a little bit faster. And then I think I am going to write some unit tests so that when stuff doesn't work, we know basically what's going on. So yeah, I mean, if you're interested in it, Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Eastern, 8 to 10.
Okay, yeah.
So we will be back. Yeah, we will be back on this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern for live coding, and then next week, 6 p.m. Eastern on Monday for the podcast, and again, 8 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday for live coding. So with that, we will say good evening, good night, everyone, and we will do the rating. Let's raid Geeky Girl Sarah.